Part 1. She told me to leave by morning. My name is Danielle Brooks, and if someone had told me a year ago that the woman I had sacrificed everything for would one day throw me out of the house I had spent years supporting, I probably would have laughed. Not because she was kind, not because she loved me, but because I believed loyalty eventually mattered. I was wrong. The moment that changed my life didn't begin with shouting or broken dishes. It didn't begin with a dramatic family argument. It began with one calm sentence. Need to move out. Looked up from the kitchen sink, a wet glass still in my hands. Sorry, I asked. My mother-in-law, Margaret, stood in the doorway with her arms folded across her chest. Her expression was almost casual, as if she were reminding me to buy milk on the way home. My daughter and her family need this house, she said. They'll be moving in tomorrow. Tomorrow, the word echoed inside my head. I slowly turned off the faucet. So, you want me to leave? I need you to leave, she corrected. This house belongs to me and I've already made my decision. I stared at her for several seconds, not because I didn't understand, because I suddenly understood everything. She truly believed this house belonged only to her. She believed she had built it, protected it, maintained it. She had absolutely no idea who had been quietly carrying the weight of that home for the past 6 years. By tomorrow? I asked quietly. Yes. She didn't hesitate. Arrive around 10 in the morning. I nodded once. Okay. That was all I said. She looked almost surprised that I hadn't argued. Then a small smile crossed her face. She thought I had accepted defeat. If only she knew when I married her son, Ethan. I never imagined my life would end up here. Ethan had been warm, funny, and endlessly optimistic. We weren't rich, but we dreamed together. Then life happened. 3 years into our marriage, Ethan was killed by a drunk driver while driving home from work. One phone call destroyed everything. I was 33 years old. A widow, no children, no parents left alive. Just me. Margaret had cried with me during the funeral. She hugged me, called me her daughter, told everyone that we were family forever. I believed every word. After Ethan's death, she suggested I move into the family house permanently. We'll take care of each other, she said. I thought it sounded comforting. I didn't realize it would slowly become a prison. At first, everything seemed fair. I paid some bills because I wanted to contribute. Then I started paying more. Margaret retired. Her pension wasn't enough. Her daughter, Rebecca, constantly struggled with money. Her youngest son, Adam, was always between jobs. Every financial emergency somehow landed on my shoulders. The electricity bill, the internet, the groceries, the insurance, the repairs, the new refrigerator, the washing machine, the roof after a storm. Every month I told myself the same thing. They're family. Family helps each other. Years passed. Helping quietly became responsibility. Responsibility became expectation. Expectation became entitlement. Nobody thanked me anymore. Nobody even noticed if the lights worked. That was normal. If food filled the refrigerator, that was expected. If the mortgage payment was complete, nobody asked how, because I made sure everything was handled before anyone noticed there was a problem. Invisible work rarely receives visible appreciation. That evening, after Margaret walked away from the kitchen, I sat alone at the dining table. The house was silent. I wrapped both hands around a mug of coffee that had already gone cold. I wasn't crying. Oddly enough, I felt calm, almost peaceful, because something inside me had finally broken free. For years, I had been afraid of disappointing everyone. Now there was no one left to disappoint. I picked up my phone. The first call was to a moving company. You move an entire house tomorrow morning? I asked. The woman on the other end paused. That's short notice. Pay the emergency fee. She checked her schedule. We can send a crew at 6. Be ready. The second call was to my lawyer. David answered after 2 rings. Need some advice. Everything okay? No, I took a slow breath. Just been told to leave my home. There was silence. Then he asked the question I wasn't expecting. Whose name is on everything? I frowned. What do you mean? The furniture. The appliances. The utility accounts. The insurance. The service contracts. I thought for a moment. Mine. Almost all of them. The receipts. I kept every one. Another pause, then David laughed softly. Danielle, they have no idea, do they? No, they don't. Good, he replied. Argue with them. Just leave. Take every single thing that legally belongs to you. I smiled for the first time all day. I already planned to. That night, I opened a large plastic storage box hidden inside my bedroom closet. Inside were years of carefully organized folders, mortgage statements, bank transfers, purchase receipts, insurance documents, warranty papers, utility contracts, every payment, every repair, every dollar. At the time, I had kept them because Ethan always believed good records prevented future problems. You never know when you'll need proof, he used to tell me. As I flipped through those folders, I whispered, "You were right." Again, around midnight, the moving boxes began filling every room, books first, then dishes, family photographs, the artwork I had bought, the television, the dining table, the living room furniture, even the coffee machine. Everything with my receipt went into a box. I wasn't stealing. I was reclaiming my own life. Around 2 a.m, there was a soft knock on my bedroom door. It was Adam. He looked tired. "You really packing?" "Yes," he leaned against the doorframe. I thought Mom was just angry. "So did I. You know she'll cool down." I folded another sweater. "No, this time she won't." He looked uncomfortable. "You could apologize." I slowly turned toward him. "For what?" He opened his mouth, then closed it because neither of us could answer that question. "Done everything I could for this family," I said quietly. "I'm just done proving it." Adam lowered his eyes. "I didn't realize." "I know, nobody did." He walked away without another word. I never saw him again that night. At exactly 6 o'clock the next morning, the moving truck pulled into the driveway. The workers moved quickly. Couches disappeared. Beds followed. Boxes filled the truck one after another. Margaret came downstairs wearing her robe. She stopped halfway down the staircase. "What is all this?" "I'm moving." "You hired movers." "You asked me to leave." "I meant your belongings." I looked directly at her. "They are my belongings." Her smile disappeared. "What?" "The furniture. The appliances. The electronics. I bought them." The first time since I had known her, she looked uncertain. Part 2. The house they wanted was never really theirs. Margaret stood frozen as the movers carried my dining table out the front door. "Put that back," she shouted. "It's mine," I said calmly. "Keep going." One by one, the sofa, TV, bookshelves, kitchen appliances, and every piece of furniture I had purchased disappeared into the moving truck. Then Rebecca arrived with her husband and children, smiling as they expected to move into their new home. The smiles vanished the moment they stepped inside. The living room was empty. The kitchen had no food. The refrigerator, microwave, and coffee maker were gone. Every bedroom except Margaret's was bare. "What happened?" Rebecca asked. Margaret looked at me. "Danielle took everything." I met Rebecca's eyes. "I only took what belonged to me." Margaret called me selfish. I stayed calm. For 6 years, I paid the bills, bought the groceries, replaced the appliances, and covered expenses no one even noticed. Today, I'm simply taking back what I paid for. The movers loaded the final box. I placed the house keys on the counter. "You asked me to leave," I said quietly. "So I did." A few minutes later, my phone rang. Margaret was furious. "You ruined this house." "No," I replied. "I stopped supporting it." When they discovered the electricity, internet, and utility accounts had all been canceled, panic replaced anger. "The mortgage company says there's money due," Jason said. "I covered the shortage every month," I answered. Silence filled the call. Finally, Rebecca whispered, "We didn't know." "I know," I replied. "You needed me," Margaret said softly. "No," I answered. "You needed everything I was providing." That afternoon, I settled into my new apartment. It was smaller, but it finally felt like home. Later, Adam visited and apologized for never realizing how much I had done for the family. Before leaving, he said quietly, "I think Mom finally understands." "I hope so," I replied. That evening, Rebecca sent me a message. I checked the bank statements. "You were right. I don't know how you carried all of us for so long. I'm sorry." I read the message, locked my phone, and smiled sadly. Some people only recognize your value after you're gone. And for the first time in years, I promised myself I would never again carry a burden that wasn't mine. Part 3. The life they took for granted ending. 3 weeks after I left, my life finally felt peaceful. No endless bills, no emergency phone calls. No carrying everyone else's burdens. Then one morning, Margaret called. "We're losing the house," she whispered. The mortgage payments had fallen behind, and they could no longer afford the home. For the first time, she admitted the truth. "You weren't just helping us," she said. "You were carrying this entire family." Sorry, I believed she meant it, but some lessons come too late. "I'm glad you understand," I replied. "But I'm not coming back." A month later, Adam met me for lunch. He had moved out, found a steady job, and told me Rebecca and Jason were finally paying their own bills. "They're learning," he said. "Good," I answered. "It's time." Long after, Rebecca visited my apartment carrying an old photo album. As we looked through the pictures, she realized something she'd never noticed before. In every family photo, I was always cooking, cleaning, decorating, or taking care of everyone else. "Sorry," she whispered. "You can't change the past," I said gently. "But you can choose a better future." 6 months later, the family sold the house because they could no longer afford to keep it. Surprisingly, I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. A year later, my life had completely changed. I earned a promotion, bought a small townhouse, made new friends, and finally began living instead of simply surviving. On my birthday, Margaret sent me one final message. "Thank you for everything you once did for us. I hope you're happy." I smiled and replied, "Thank you. I hope you find happiness too." As I looked around my new home, I realized something important. The day my mother-in-law told me to leave, she thought she was taking away my home. Instead, she gave me something far more valuable, my freedom. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't staying and carrying everyone else's burdens. Sometimes it's walking away, choosing yourself, and never looking back. The end.